of all the characters in the play that have changed their interpretation since 45, it definitely has to be Eric. Priestley is sympathetic with Eric. He is a drunk playboy, but he wants to change, apparently. And what we've come to understand is no, he is useless, and he treated Ava like an animal, and he raped her, and his guilt makes him want to take some kind of responsibility for that. But instead of taking personal responsibility, he steals money, she gets away from him, and then he just really starts dumping on both Mrs. Burling and Mr. Burling. And I guess the text is trying to argue that it's this anger that's going to get him to change and reject them. And I don't buy that at all. I just think that his privilege is very manifest, and his anger is shallow. I think that while Priestley wants me to think about Sheila and Eric changing, I think you could argue not at all. So I think definitely, of course, class, but really with him, it's gender, both of men and women, their rights. You could think about consent. There's so much context to consider, particularly, if I can say this, what I refer to as the triple context of the play, which is it's set in 1912, it premieres in 45, and when I'm doing this video right now, it's 2023. There's a triple context, which is when it was written and when it was set. And it's this layering that helps us understand its changing nature and changing relationships to these different time periods. I think an awareness of that can really make your context more meaningful and drive it towards a more complex reading of the play. So yeah, Eric is this potential, he is drunk, irresponsible, but it's through Eric that we really see Priestley reflecting the changing attitudes of his culture, and the hope that maybe there can be a more equitable future. On the other hand, I think you could argue that Eric isn't that person at all. He's just always going to be useless, privileged, drunk. So in the beginning, he's squiffy, he's drunk, he's laughing, he doesn't really know, kind of talking about politics like he knows something, he doesn't really know anything. At a certain point, he leaves the interrogation of everybody, and that's more of a function of, we're going to find out dramatically ironic, his connection with Eva Smith. So he comes back and he's shocked and indignant that he admits to raping her. He calls her a good sport and just ridiculously misogynistic kind of concepts. He wants to take some responsibility for her being pregnant, so he starts to steal money, and it's just ridiculous. So this tension emerges. He's got this incredibly lavish lifestyle, but he has some empathy for Eva Smith, and as he sobers up, or as he starts to think about changing, it's just he dumps his blame on his parents so much, and that generational tension. I think we could think about generational change as well with him. This is pretty much fundamental. I think a really funny, easy quote is this slang about just squiffy. He's just drunk. Sheila tries to tell her mom, but they don't really want to take it seriously. He blames the parent. You killed her. She came to you to protect me, and you turned her away. Yes, and you killed her. And the child she'd have had to. Just ridiculous diffusion of responsibility. Complete irresponsible. The inspector says you used her like an animal, a thing, not a person. Even Priestley's text already has that embedded in it, and that tension. This is what I mean by close reading. That I say that our interpretation of Eric has changed which is absolutely valid and true in the time that I've been teaching the play even. But the text sustains these different readings, and our reading of the text, the more we know the text, the more evidence you can call on it. What you're not doing is just using the text to have a rant about what you think is fair or unfair in society. What you're doing with a literary essay, an interpretive literary essay, is you're calling up the text and analyzing it to support interpretations, which then inevitably take the part of larger thematic ideas in the world. But you don't just beat the text for not being what you want it to be. That, for me, isn't very elegant analysis or thought. So you've read the play, you've listened to the play, hopefully you've watched the play. You need to dig now into the key language and moments of the play, which is, it's really quite easy with Eric. Again, it's worth thinking about being critical. It's worth thinking about the triple context of Eric and the play. And it's worth thinking about the tension between the way Priestley wants to present Eric and how we, audiences in 2023, are receiving him.